So in continuing our talk about using frameworks to go ahead and use that to figure out how do we can find opportunities, the first approach we talked about was technology, and by following technology and its improvements, how do we apply it to certain business opportunities. And the next approach is looking at technology from a market framework. And so another example is, for example, I'm interested in the market of real estate. And the thing is, it's a middleman industry, so I can just remove the agents. When I was looking for a cabin up north, I went on, Realtor.com and all. I looked at the ALS. I barely needed to use my realtor, and I'm thinking, I can't believe this guy is getting 6%. And that's the thing, I didn't even need him for the financial stuff. That's the title company. So it's like, why do you need these people? And so the thing is, there's a real opportunity here. The thing is, I don't know what all the realtor laws are and everything, but if I believe I can disintermediate and get rid of those guys, I could just create a digital firm, which will, digitally market people's houses, get it all posted everywhere, come up with an instruction set that people can follow when they buy these houses. And because people are looking at their homes online to begin with, then it's a matter of just arranging them to get in there. When I look at product offering, what I do is I use technology to innovate current businesses, whether it's a product, a market, or operations. And these are the types of areas that I can target. For example, with the Wii, they added better sensors. Amazon, Jeff Bezos realized that the one thing the internet allowed you to do is scan a lot of information very quickly, and that's why he looked at the value of the digital catalog. Sears, what's their big problem? They don't know if their promotions are, well, besides that they have crappy stores, but if anyone works for Sears, I apologize. But anyway, they're using big data now to figure out the effect. And so one way to look at the product or how a company operates, if you're interested in a specific one, is the value chain. And so, for example, Warby Parker makes frames for eyeglasses. So what's the process people go through to get eyeglasses? Well, first you take an eye exam, and so you have to go to a doctor and all, you get a prescription. Then you go buy your lenses, and then you put them, you pick out your frames, and then you pick out your glasses later. So it goes this way. Well, the thing is, what if we go in the opposite direction and see which of these steps can we move, and how do we make it easier? And so one of the biggest problems with eyeglasses is that you have to go get an eye exam. And so what Warby Parker is actually doing is they're coming up with a computer eye exam. For those of you who've been through it, which is clearer, A or B or whatever, and it's because of the resolution on the UDH or UHD that's coming out that's making this possible. And so they're working on this software and they're testing it. But I would absolutely love that if I didn't have to, pay $70 to an eye doctor and just could watch a computer do it for me. And so that's how they're innovating. The cloud, software as a service, people are always looking for new ways. What about context? Again, the big context approach is what technology exists that can disrupt something, or what markets are changing through deregulation or supply chain changes that I can make, and society. What are society's issues? And the thing is, does disruption always work? No, it doesn't. And the reason why disruption doesn't always work is the market has to be big enough, because the implication of disruption is it's going to get cheaper. Well, what if I'm selling, for example, Medtronic, the number one medical implant company in the world? They have an implant for people with epilepsy. The problem is there's only 10,000 of it. Now they charge 5,000, so they make $50 million a year off it. But if you get the price down to $50, then it's $500,000, and for that much headache and trials and regulatory and everything else, it's just not worth it. And so disruption, it doesn't actually help. The thing about the world is the world wants to be like us. And so we take for granted a lot of things here that they don't have in other places in the world. And that's why a lot of Americans take their business somewhere else around the world, because they appreciate it more, because it's pretty common here. And so to give you an example of a marketing framework, one example is event of interest is like politics. And the thing is that when Donald Trump did not spend a lot of money, and he took advantage of the digital world. Instead of doing the old knock on the doors and call people up, he realized that there was an opportunity there. And so what did he do? Where's an opportunity? Create a digital marketing firm specifically for politicians. Over the summer, I went to my grandkids' swim meet, and there was this poor woman there who was campaigning for her husband, giving out snow cones. And it's like 103 degrees out, and the poor woman's dying, and her hands are all sticky from that syrup. And that's like way too much work just to hand somebody one brochure. She could have touched more people just setting up a good Facebook page. We went through this before. You have to make money. Here are the investor concerns, what they want to know. Is your business scalable? What's your profit model? But these are primarily market and financial driven. And a lot depends on the industry. So the thing is, in getting started, it's like, where do you want to focus? Are you interested in tech for tech's sake, a customer or cost? What are you? Are you basically interested in the market or just competing? And do I fulfill the crux of entrepreneurship? And that's it. What do I do that's unique or exceptional? How do I make a profit, and how do I make it tough to copy? And so here are some examples and which framework you should use. Like if you like the sustainable energy market, then use the marketing approach. You're really interested in thin film solar technology, then use the technology frameworks, and so on and so forth. An example of top-down is the Goaltech soccer ball, and that's that one student was just passionate about soccer, and so he came up with this idea. But this is top-down. I'm picking the product area of soccer balls, and so he wanted to make a self-teaching soccer ball. Another person, her dad worked in auto kiosks, and it followed the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the time you just get into fender benders. And so she thought of an idea of coming up with a kiosk. And so people could come in and put their information, download the picture they took on their phone of the dent, and immediately get an estimate to pass on. Now, what about bottoms up? Bottoms up is essentially the events themselves instead of specific industries or technology areas. And so an example for context is that a lot of soldiers are coming home and they're having mental issues. So is there a way we could use some of this social networking to help them? Decentralizing things, deregulating things, and the issues that happen, whether it's texting accidents, guns, or how do we aggregate businesses? Like, why don't we make a super childcare business that extends, that is branded, and people would take their kids to it? The thing is, you have to think about what is it that you're good at, and that's the viewpoint you should go from. Like, say I'm interested in K through 8 education, and a lot of people are unhappy, and there are over 2 million kids today being homeschooled because people are unhappy. So if I'm interested in K to 8 education, I can use the tech approach, and therefore I'm looking how can I pull students together. I can use a marketing approach, and the thing I look at is then I have to map it out. What are the different ways that people teach at, and what are the businesses that exist? As you could see, nobody wants low content, but your student well. Nobody operates in that space because you can't make money. But homeschooling is so popular because you don't have to spend a lot of time and you can get the same effect as 8 hours. And so the offering we come up with is looking at it is, why don't we use P2P? And that's that I want better content and I want higher intimacy. Well, like Uber, there are a lot of teachers who retire or whatever who are looking for part-time work. So use them, and especially with the emergence of vouchers, parents will pay for that because parents may not be the best people to teach your kids. Farming, I'm not going to go through this just because these videos are long enough, but as you can see, some of the challenges of farming, it's looking at the different components of farming and these are the innovations that are currently taking place. But it's just a matter of knowing what the issues are. And so the thing is, first and foremost, find an area that you're passionate about. And then from that, you can decide what approach works best, whether it's a tech approach, the market approach, or whatever. And then use the framework techniques that are in the table early on. And so now you're ready to go do research. And that's to look at this as a business and see, can I make money?